Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so thrilled you're tuning in because, well, we're unpacking something today that is absolutely sending shockwaves through the higher education sector. We're looking at exactly how the UK Home Office is radically transforming the landscape of international student recruitment. If you want to understand the hidden mechanisms controlling who actually gets to study in the UK and why universities are suddenly changing their behavior almost overnight, you are in the exact right place. Let's get into it. Okay, right off the bat, let's set the tone with this statement from the UK Home Office. They've explicitly stated sponsorship is a privilege, not a right. And wow, that is a stark, uncompromising stance from the government. What this translates to on the ground is wild. A mere 5% visa refusal rate can now put a university's entire international program in total jeopardy. The margin for error hasn't just been reduced here, it's practically been erased entirely.
Now, before we dive too deep into the mechanics, let's just quickly define two critical terms so we're all on the same page. First up, the RAG system. This stands for Red, Amber, Green, and it's the brand new compliance rating framework for all licensed universities. Second is CAS. That stands for Confirmation of Acceptance for Studies. It's basically the essential electronic document a university absolutely has to issue to an international student before they can even think about applying for a visa. Simple rule, no CAS, no visa.
So here is our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover the new traffic light system, the 3 razor-thin metrics, the absolutely brutal worst metrics rule, what green, amber, and red actually mean for these schools, and finally, the real-world impact of all of this. Part 1. The new traffic light system.
So this new RAG system, it's a complete paradigm shift from the old, way more forgiving basic compliance assessment. It officially went live across the UK on June 1st, 2026, and I want to be clear. This isn't just some administrative rebrand. It is an entirely new operational reality for every single institution holding a student sponsor license. Just look at how much stricter the new rules are. Under the old system, a university could have up to a 10% visa refusal rate and still be totally fine. Now, to get a green rating, they have to keep refusals below 4%. Enrollment requirements jumped from 90 to 96%, and course completion, which honestly barely used to be an issue, jumped from 85 to 92%. The safety margins have shrunk drastically. The government is essentially asking universities for near perfection.
Part 2. 3 razor-thin compliance metrics. Think about how incredibly tight these margins are, especially for visa refusals. Keep it under 4%, and you're in the green zone, everything is great. But if you hit exactly 4%, you instantly drop to amber. Hit 5%, you're in the red. The difference between seamless, everyday university operations and a complete administrative freeze is a microscopic 1% variance. Literally, 1%. And just to ground this in reality, the official government guidance is crystal clear. Failing to meet a core requirement immediately drops an institution into the red category for that metric. Now, sure, the paperwork mentions discretionary assessments, but the overarching reality is that failure is pretty much automatic. There's no gentle negotiation period anymore. The system triggers massive penalties the second the data crosses those razor-thin thresholds we just looked at.
Part 3, the brutal worst metric rule.
Okay, this rule right here is what industry experts are calling the most dangerous trap in the entire framework. It's literally the thing keeping university administrators up at night. It's all about how these 3 metrics interact. Walk through this hypothetical scenario with me. Let's say a university is doing great. They have an amazing 97% enrollment rate, that's green, and a fantastic 3.5% visa refusal rate, also green. But maybe a few students drop out, and their course completion rate slips to 88%, which falls into the amber band. What is their overall score? It's amber. A single-week metric drags the entire institution down. Your strong metrics absolutely cannot compensate for your weakest one. Which perfectly leads us to this incredible quote from an analyst at Wonky. They said, "Amber isn't a buffer zone, it's a ledge." This entire system completely subverts our normal expectations. Usually, an amber traffic light just means proceed with caution, right? But under this UKVI RG system, an amber rating means a sudden, complete freeze on CAS operations. You aren't slowing down. You are stopped dead in your tracks until the Home Office decides you're allowed to move again.
Part 4, green, amber, and red.
So now that we know how these ratings are actually calculated, let's look at the real-world punishments. If an institution is green, they get their full CAS allocation and business proceeds exactly as usual. But look at amber again. CAS allocation is completely frozen. They literally cannot issue any new letters to bring in students. And red is severe. We're talking an automatic minimum 10% cut to their CAS allocation with no upper limit. They get placed on a formal action plan, and they face a very real heightened risk of losing their sponsor license entirely. These are automatic, immediate administrative punishments, not those negotiated multi-year improvement plans we used to see in the past. We can actually see this inflexible enforcement detailed directly in the official documentation. While the UK Visas and Immigration Office, or UKVI, technically retains some operational discretion on paper regarding amber and red ratings, the whole sector is being warned not to rely on it. The overarching reality is strict enforcement starting right from the very first assessment cycle. No grace periods, absolutely no practice runs.
Part 5. The real-world impact.
Let's pivot away from the institutional bureaucracy for a second and talk about the human element. If you are a prospective international student, you've got to be asking, what does this mean for my application? Well, the hard truth is that if a university is rated red or amber, your CAS letter might literally never arrive. Think about that. You could have perfect grades, flawless finances, a brilliant personal statement, but if that university is locked down by the Home Office because of their internal compliance metrics, your application is effectively frozen in time through absolutely no fault of your own. To put this into a global perspective, let's look at the booming Nepali student market. That region saw over 20,600 sponsored study visas issued in just the past year, making it the UK's 5th largest source country. Major recruitment hubs exactly like this are now facing unprecedented scrutiny because every single visa refusal or student dropout counts against a university's razor-thin margins. Institutions are heavily increasing their own internal vetting of applicants from high-volume regions. So admissions across the board, they are getting drastically stricter.
So what's your game plan? If you're navigating this highly risk-averse environment, here are the structured steps you absolutely must take. Step 1. Verify your sponsor's compliance status. Do not apply blind. Step 2. Prepare heavily for precast credibility interviews. Universities are going to interrogate your intent to study long before the Home Office even gets a chance to. And Step 3. Apply early and align all your financial facts perfectly. There is zero room for sloppy paperwork anymore.
Let's quickly look at the rollout timeline so we know exactly what is coming next. As we mentioned, the REG system went live on June 1st, 2026. Then, next year, on June 1st, 2027, the course completion threshold actually rises even further to a strict 90% floor. But honestly, the most explosive date is summer 2027. That is when every single university's REG rating is expected to be published publicly on the official UK sponsor register. The days of a university hiding a poor compliance record, those are coming to a definitive end.
Which leaves us with a massive question to ponder as we wrap up. With the margins for error virtually erased by the UK Home Office, will the REG system actually successfully protect high educational standards and weed out bad actors? Or, by punishing minor statistical variances so incredibly severely, will it permanently narrow the scope of the UK's global educational engagement? It is a high-stakes compliance game right now, and the entire world is watching the scoreboard. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you all next time.